Welcome to the show with a twist, we got flair. Joe and Raven squawking about things we all share. From pixels to dice, we rollin' in style. Anime and movies make us laugh and smile. Video games, we love to geek out loud. Every episode draws in a big crowd. With topics so fresh and segments so fly. Join the conversation, reaching for the sky. Squawking at Joe Mama always keeps it real. Talking about the stuff that makes us feel. From epic quest to battles on screen. Tune in every week, it's a pop culture dream.
Trying to get it. There we go. I don't know why mine fluttered there. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Squawking at Your Mama. We're doing episode 6. There's a reason for it. Don't let me get into that. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Raven Squaw. I think I got it right. Yes.
Okay. What are you talking about? It's me, Joey Wheeler.
That's it. And today's episode is on TCGs, also known as trading card games. And we're going to go through the ins and outs of different ones. The topics will flow. Questions will be had. Rage will be felt. And we're joined by two special guests. We have Boros, the Magic Man. Say hello, Boros.
Hi.
Would you like to let anyone know anything about yourself?
I guess if we're talking about TCGs, I have been playing those on and off since I was about 7 years old, and I'm like 30, so I have a lot of experience with a bunch of random ones. So this is going to be a fun topic for me to talk about today.
18, you say? Well,
Sure. Okay.
Let's go ahead. We also have a Silly Mirror, aka Tydro. If you ever see him play on some of the games we do on stream, please introduce yourself and a little bit about yourself.
Hello. I am friends with our two hosts here, and their DM at some occasions when they allow it. And similar to Boros, I've been playing Magic since I was not 7, but I want to say like 9. And similar, I've been playing for quite some time on and off through other games, and been going on for well over 10 plus years, if not more.
17, you say?
Yes, exactly. One less than Boros.
So, obviously, if you guys don't know who the hosts are for this channel, let's start with Raven. Talk about yourself a little bit and let everyone know who you are if they are not familiar.
Hey, yo, it's me, Joey Wheeler. Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Raven. Long time no see. You only see me on the podcast. But maybe one day I'll be back to streaming. I also play lots of TCGs, Pokemon, a little stint with Yu-Gi-Oh, and now currently my favorite addiction, fucking One Piece. Because
And it's playing right there.
I love not having money. That's my favorite.
It's relatable.
Yeah.
Everyone feels that if they
Yep.
play a game.
Fuck. But yeah. No, I've been playing TCGs on and off for like, I don't know, how old am I now? Fucking 34. So like, I want to say like 20 plus years.
And then obviously, if you're on this channel, you know who I am. I don't really think I need to explain, but in case
Who
you do,
are
I'm-
you? Who's
I'm-
this
Who the
man
fuck are
talking
you?
to me?
Yeah, I just got a weird link and ended up here, so I don't know what's happening.
Oh, that's it.
Joey Wheeler, is that you?
Yo, you get Tristan off my sister. What? What's up, Nev? I'm Joe Inferno. Joe's just fine. Gumple builder, variety gamer, but we also do this podcast once a month. Just generally speaking, also divorce dads. I want to pick up a deck just because I think that's funny, but we'll talk about
Yeah,
that later.
I was looking at the trailer here and I was like, that's amazing.
I do have a little bit of a background in Pokemon, like from the very, very first starter deck they ever built. That's where I learned to play, and recently picked up the Gundam TCG. I was part of the sample event. We'll talk about that later, obviously, and a little bit on Magic. I'm not great, but I understand Magic, the Gathering, a little bit, so we'll get onto that as well. And Mr. Raven Squaw will be pretty much the, what do you call that guy in charge of like moderator for this particular
Officiator,
episode.
like
That's
this-
it.
Something.
So take it away, Mr. Raven Squaw.
Do you, Joe, take Boros in love, life, and marriage?
Not like that.
Hi. Oh shit! Not okay. You got it. Yes.
I should finally. Oh.
Yes, guys, we are talking about TCGs, all of our favorite business. I want to just start this off with like any, if you guys have heard of any like recent TCG news, like breaking news or like, topics that, or I guess very relevant topics to whatever TCG you are currently addicted to. For me, my little bit is fuck you, Bandai, because we need more copies of the new One Piece set. Also,
EBO 2?
The new one, yeah, EBO 2. Also, EBO 2 has already doubled in price, and the set has just been out for a week, which is fucking ridiculous. It's stupid. It's dumb. I will still spend the money, but I think it's a little ridiculous.
Also, Bandai, if you happen to be watching this and want to sponsor us, we retract all of that statement and just give us the stuff.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah, we love you.
we're joking.
Oh yeah, just pure love here.
It's not like we shell out hundreds of thousands of dollars every single year on Gunpla and everything else. Help us out here. Throw a bone.
Yeah, like what the fuck? Like, also send me EBO. Send me a box of EBO 2. I'm looking at you, fucking Bandai. Dear Mr. Bandai, send me fucking.
It's the guy. It's this guy's name is Mr. Bandai.
We'll open them up here.
Dear Mr. Bandai.
Bandai.
But yeah, so like at least on One Piece side, like the big news is how expensive EBO 2 is right now. The set literally just came out, like I want to say like a week, maybe even 2 ago, and cards are already going for an upwards of like 2-3 bills. If you find the manga rare, it's like $1,000 already, and the whole set is just way too expensive.
Well, I mean, but what is it supposed to be, and what is it selling at? That's a better question, I guess, to get context.
I think packs are supposed to be going for like somewhere around like $5.99, $6.99, and right now a single pack from that set, Canadian pricing, is $13.99. So it's almost it's double, if not more, depending on where you purchase it from. As well with that, a box, like an actual booster box, should be around like $130-ish, and right now is selling for $2.99.
Yeah.
Wait, like $2.99 or like $200?
No, $299.9.
No, just in case they didn't understand out there.
No, it's ridiculous. And then like obviously, just like any other TCG, you pull cards, the rare cards go up and are super expensive. But this specific set, a lot of the cards are going for like a lot. Like I think some cards are going for like $100. And it's not even like it's not a secret rare. It's not like a super special card. It's just like a basic rare, and it's going for like $100 right now. Ridiculous. That's fucking stupid. I can't afford this shit. Once again, I'll still spend it, Bandai. Just send us a box.
So the issue with this set, though, in particular, is the fact that last time they had the extra booster that came out last year around this time frame, if not like around like March or April, it wasn't as popular, but as the set became less like harder to get, because basically they only did like one wave run, a lot of the singles started to creep up in price to the point where I think like what was it, Laboon was like a $40 or $50 card USD because of like some decks that were like, trying to play with it. And for a super to like climb that high from being worth like $5-10 to like 4 or 5 times its price just because of scarcity, it's like, yeah, you guys probably shouldn't be doing this, especially for like these smaller sets, because by comparison, you could buy a booster case of an extra booster set and get about 2 to 3 play sets of everything. Because normally you require like 2 booster cases of an average set to get that, but with this you only need the 1. But the problem is that there's too many different rarities and too many big end cards where it's just like, yeah, these prices are just bad. Like worse than Pokemon bad.
Well, honestly, like at this point,
that's pretty bad.
It's not even just based on rarity, because like I said, like we have rare cards, like not secret rares, not like something like an alternate art. Like we have basic rares, even from EBO 1, and including like all the other sets that are going for an upwards of $40-50. And that's dumb. Like in reality, they would have been like maybe $10, to buy and market. But now like they're quadruple the price, and it's stupid. It's dumb. But do
you think it's part of the rise of One Piece in its own sense? Not rise, because One Piece has been very popular, but in the last little bit, there's been more of a transition to get other audiences with the live action. They're now redoing it in the next little bit, so there's been a lot of wake that's kind of been coming through. I mean, last I saw, One Piece also had a commercial with the Lakers, so they're
Wait, what?
Yeah, if you go to a Lakers game, they have a One Piece Lakers collaboration where
it was,
the whole Straw Hat crew is wearing Lakers jerseys.
That's kinda
and shit.
sick.
It's actually super fucking dope.
There's even I've seen
wasn't there
wrestlers-
also a Dodgers game that they also had One Piece
Yep.
stuff too?
Yup.
Yeah.
They also
there's
did
an MLB player that
Olympians.
has the getup too.
Don't forget in
I
the
think
Olympics when
overall,
everybody was
like-
doing it.
I think overall for like an IP, One Piece has been doing it right, because also a lot of these collaborations didn't really start happening until like super recently. Like, yeah, they've had collaborations in the past, but they also didn't bring out a card game besides that really shitty one from like a few years back, blah blah blah. And like
There's
the
a lot
IP
of
has
those.
existed for- Yeah, the IP's existed for like how long now? Like
30
forever.
years. The series has been out since '99, so
Yeah.
it's been like over 25 years now.
It's been quite some time, and then finally, like over a decade later, they're like, let's bring out a TCG, and it's honestly a fantastic TCG. Like, prizing for tournaments has only been going up at this point. Popularity is great. The gameplay is fun. Mechanically, it's sick. You get to see a bunch of the characters that you love. There's so many variations when it comes to decks. Like, they did a great job when it comes to like the IP. But I think the problem with specifically the TCG in itself is the scarcity of cards. Like in Canada,
Yeah, but that's not their
alone-
fault. That's more like on the scalpers, no?
Mm,
No.
It makes them both, to be
Hey,
honest.
with Pokemon, the scout, like obviously the like based on the set that we're talking about, like on average Pokemon it's usually because of the scalpers, but also the popularity of the TCG in itself would obviously lead to more scarcity, not because of production. But in this case, when it comes to One Piece, they are not producing enough cards. Like in Canada alone, it's hard to come across like new sets, and then when those new sets become old, they're also not pumping out as many boxes, and they're still not pumping out more stuff. And now we have some booster packs that are in upwards of like $25-$30 for just fucking a booster pack. Like, that's fucking ridiculous. It's $6.99 for a basic pack. Why am I spending almost $30 for a stupid pack?
Now,
That's because they're not pushing out any more fucking cards.
I'm wondering though if you're also seeing the rise of what I think happens with any TCG that goes on long enough, because and correct me for anyone else that's a part of this, both Pokemon and Magic are in similar boats where as the cards go longer, packs get more and more expensive. And the scarcity for them also becomes harder, especially like as like I'm not a big Pokemon collector, but I know when the 151 relaunch came through, that got pretty chaotic where everyone was trying to re-grab those cards, but they're all essentially reprints of older cards staying towards the Kanto region, and then like great example like Magic. I remember when I used to buy packs, they were like $6-7 for a pack. Now they're looking at 10 to 12 for a basic, if not up to 15 or 25 if you're looking at collector packs. And then same thing, boxes, booster boxes are getting even more expensive, to the point where Wizards is now doing half booster boxes because people aren't buying full boxes because they're too expensive.
Well, honestly, to that point, I think the major difference between both is that One Piece as a TCG is still relatively new. Like, they've only really existed for what, maybe like 2-3 years right now. Like, as of right now?
It's
Maybe
been
even-
about, I would say about a little over 2 years, because
yeah, like,
because OPA 10 released not that long ago, right?
yeah,
And now we're
OPO
on
10
TCG
released
2.
earlier this year actually.
So it's about 2.5 years old now, not even 3.
Yeah,
And-
it's still in its infancy when it comes to being a TCG, and actually a relevant TCG, because obviously there's so many fucking TCGs out there, but ones that are actually running tournaments and having actual support from the manufacturer, and all of that, like One Piece has been killing it. But also within that same vein, because it's been doing so well, they can't keep up with the demand for cards, which also part of me thinks is that they're just unwilling to, because Bandai doesn't have a great track record of keeping up with your cards. Not to say I don't want, the sponsorship, Bandai. I'm just saying y'all need to step up. But it's true. Like they have an ugly habit of starting TCGs and then tossing it to another production team in order to continue it. You know what I mean? Like, they've done that so many fucking times.
I will say this because I got into One Piece a little after 05 came out. The first year of the game wasn't necessarily that hard to get your hands on a lot of cards. It was just the fact that the pool of players and everything that was available at the time was a lot smaller because there were a lot less players. Then 5 came out and it had like 3 manga rares and a signature card and it had like actual like big chase cards, more than just the one. And it just exploded from that point on. That carried it up until this point. And then when 9 came out, we now have 5 manga rares, including the gold one, which is super hard to come by.
Oh my
Green
god,
booster.
that golden Goldie Roger.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's clean. And then of course you had a premium booster, which includes a reprints of majority of the manga rares, including like upgraded rarities of all of them. Like, they actively know what they're doing as far as producing more product. The problem is they're not producing enough of it to basically allow people that if they want to get their hands on these cards to make them affordable. Because there's no reason for like I'm looking at the prices right now for Extra Booster 2. Like, why in the world are like these basic foil leaders going for like $200-$300, like $400 a pop?
Exactly.
It makes absolutely no sense in my mind.
And
Yeah,
that's,
it's
like that's the crazy thing. But also on that note of fucking OPO5, which is, at least for context for people who don't know, is at least 6-7 sets ago. So back then, I know a lot of the local players that I play with at locals, and a bunch of my friends who are into the One Piece TCG right now. Even at OPO5, people were hesitant to get into the TCG because they didn't know if the support would continue. Once again, Bandai being bad at keeping support for their TCGs. And then after OPO5 was OPO6 and then 7, which should have been like Awakening, blah blah blah. People started realizing Bandai's not giving up the IP yet, and that they're putting full support into it. And then One Piece started getting added to the Bandai tournament, like the actual like Bandai tournaments and all of that stuff. People started really getting into it, and then that just also skyrocketed the prices because now more people are getting into it. There's less cards available because more people are getting into the IP, blah blah blah. Either way, it's fucking stupid. I hate it.
Long story short, they didn't print enough of the new set. Is his whole update?
They never. It's not even just the new set. It's all sets. Like they just. Like, I don't know if they are just forcing the supply and demand thing on the extreme end, or if they just genuinely don't want to. The fact is that they're just not producing.
Well, I mean, I would argue probably they're not doing it on. Because if they made it,
portion of it can be supply and demand in the sense of like, the cards are really popular, people want to purchase and play, blah blah blah. So let's keep the stock levels relatively low, or at least make more rare cards more scarce, so that there is more value in them, and in turn, if more people want to purchase. But then, yeah, on the other end of it, stupid. Anyways,
I'm wondering too if part of it is hit by the cardboard market, because I find all TCGs now, at least from everyone I've spoken to, is running to that same gripe that you're going to, whether it's card scarcity or just the general fact that there might be a wider varieties of gaining those boxes, but the individual cards, which is really what you're looking for when you're coming for these things, have jumped up in price because everyone's trying to make a little extra money off those stock markets, especially when you hear things like the One Ring went for $1 million, people buying Charizards for 10-15 grand. So I think a lot of people now are looking at that being like, well, I have a scarcity of this card, I'm going to charge over the price I want, and no one else is willing to buckle on that, because if you get it, are you going to sell for $100 or $20 where everyone else is selling it for 10 or $5 grand? It's hard to kind of justify those sometimes. But I get it. It's frustrating because we just want to play these things. We all enjoy them. They're fun to do, and it sucks when you have to almost fork out, a large sum of money to continue playing it.
Absolutely.
There's also one other aspect that people tend to forget. Bandai only has access to 2 printing factories in the States. That also affects Canada. And they also do multiple other card games. They have Union Arena. They're doing Gundam coming out here soon. They've done Dragon Ball in the past, and the card stock on these cards are pretty thick too. They're sturdy.
They're quality cards. So quality cards.
They put a ton of effort into producing these, but the problem here is the fact that they don't have enough resources to print to meet that demand half the time. And considering the fact that they're coming out with a new TCG come July, in order to engage an entirely new market, we're about to have a very, very unique split where whenever a new set drops for any of these TCGs and anything that Bandai produces, you either have to pick it up on release or hope and pray there's a good restock down the line, because otherwise you're not going to be able to find product for a decent price. Realistically,
like it's tough because, like, you know, obviously all of you guys have met a variety of TCG players, and it varies, right? Some people are collectors, some people are actually like the gameplay, blah blah blah. As somebody who specifically leans into gameplay versus collecting, it sucks for me because all I want to do is build really cool decks. I don't sell my cards, I just hold on to them. Like, maybe if I ran into like a $50,000 card, yeah, I'd probably think about selling it. But for the most part, the cards I pick up are specifically because I want to build decks and play with my friends and all of that stuff. So it sucks as a player that unfortunately I end up being locked out of certain strategies, even certain decks, because the price is way too much. One specific, like if a full card set in One Piece, just like most other TCGs, is four of the same card for a full play set, right? Mm-hmm. For a specific card that I want, one of those cards is 85. If I wanted the secret rare, it's about $180. So if I needed four of them, I'm spending lower end fucking 300 something, higher end 500-600. That's fucking ridiculous.
That's unfortunately how it goes for certain TCGs. Like Magic can get pretty bad about it too at times, even Yu-Gi-Oh to a certain extent. Like each of these card games, they have their high-end chase cards that spike in at a price because people need them to play with, but unfortunately they just don't print enough of it, or they don't print enough chances to pull them.
But it's funny because, like, when we refer to chase cards, we refer to like the peak of the set. So like, for example, when it comes to One Piece, it would be the manga arts, right? When it would be like Pokemon, depending on the set, it could be like an evolution, it could be a Charizard, blah blah. But there's usually like maybe like a few cards that are the chases, and everything else is kind of cool. The one card that I want isn't even the chase in the set. Like, that's what crazy. It's the fucking Bong Kui, number 2, Mr. 2 or whatever.
Oh, Bon Curry?
Yeah, he's not the chase in that set, and he's fucking $85. Like,
oh,
see, the other problem with this whole everything's like ridiculous prices. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. I know for I was talking to Burrows about this before stream. But for Magic, Pokemon, there's different sets that come out, and some of them are not, like, depending on the tournament, legally. Once a new set comes out, don't they like retire the old set, or only certain sets are allowed? So then you spend all this money, and then now you can't use the fucking deck anymore because now they swapped it out for the next set that came out. Like,
the next problem with TCGs is the money sink. If you want to stay relative, like for you, Raven, you generally like doing just the deck building portion of it. For you to stay relevant to any of these new decks that come in, because power creep is real with a lot of these games, you're always forced to keep forking in money to this, and especially with these card prices going up, if you're just trying to build a specific deck, you know, on release specifically, the pricing also fluctuates a lot more because people don't know what's worth anything. So it kind of puts us in binds for these things, which is frustrating because you're like, well, this card is $5 now or $10 now. Is it going to be the same tomorrow, or am I going to see a jump or a scarcity of it going forward? Right.
Absolutely. And I think to a certain extent, if you are going to get invested into a TCG, one of the things you have to accept is the fact that you will be spending money, and you will be spending lots of money, kind of deal. Because once again, like, if you're purchasing singles or even just buying boosters to try to pull whatever cards you want, you're still spending exorbitant amount of money in order to get to there. Or if you're really lucky, you just pull the exact cards you fucking need. But I don't know anyone on the planet who has that kind of luck. Either way, I think the fact is that there is an acceptance. No, fuck Yugi.
Clearly he's Joey. We've just established this earlier.
Fucking cheater.
But, his grandpa owned a card shop. It's a different story for him.
Yeah, that's even worse. Dude fucking hacking the system at this point. His fucking grandpa fucking owns a card shop. He's got some fucking mystical pharaoh sitting in some kind of diamond on his chest so that he could just summon out of nowhere because
he's
Yugi's
kind of baller when you think about it. Gold chain and all, like, locks in.
Yeah, but he's like, in reality, you come to realize that Yugi's a dog shit dueler if he has to call fucking the emperor every single fucking time. Like,
not the emperor, it's the pharaoh. Get it right.
You come and fucking I don't give a fuck, all right? Like, you and your goofy ass fucking looking hair, fucking. I don't even know how the fucking fit grows with him. It's not like the Hulk, but even when the Hulk hulks out, he like his pants rip and shit. But like somehow Yugi gets like 7 feet taller and the fit stays.
Yeah, his posture gets fixed. I don't understand what's wrong with that.
He also has extra.
So Yugi's just
works
bent
out for
over the
him.
whole time. That's crazy.
Now, I have a question for you guys. To something you brought up, Raven. Do you guys have different game formats with yours? So, like for myself, I play Magic the Gathering. We have things like Standard, we have Commander, we have Draft, we have various different forms you can kind of tackle the game itself. My question to you is, do you guys have something like that similar to One Piece?
So in One Piece right now, no. Mind you, like, yeah, you could set up kind of mock rules to accommodate for other play styles, but as of right now, there is just the regular format for competitive. Yeah, there's nothing special, but also I feel like these other formats come from longevity, right?
Yes.
Like it's something where like Magic has obviously established itself as one of the big players when it comes to TCG, and also with the fact that it's been around for so long, they're like they had to kind of expand on the basic format to accommodate for even just old sets that aren't relevant in competitive play right now, or even just to, you know, mix it up. But as of right now, One Piece doesn't. One Piece is just regular format, call it a day.
I'm
They're-
wondering
they are-
if. Oh yeah, go on, Boros. Sorry.
I was just going to say they are introducing a rotation format come next year in April because they're realizing that with the amount of sets that they're putting out and the amount of cards that they're introducing, trying to support everything is going to be a nightmare, especially when it comes to balancing. Because there are some cards that have been banned as of recent. For example, Ice Age from set 2.
Don't talk
No,
about Last Band. Don't you dare talk about Last Band to me.
No.
I lost a lot of good cards to that band.
Yeah, Blair. Last band.
I tried.
I know, I get it. But I'm mentioning this because Ice Age, when it first introduced back in set 2, was not a problematic card. It became problematic over time because it intrinsically gave you too much value for what decks were trying to accomplish with. And therefore, they're introducing a rotation system because they're realizing that certain colors or even certain cards are kind of hindering the potentials to come up with new stuff. For example, the Nami leader, the blue one from set 3, has basically ruined the potential color atmosphere of blue being able to draw cards. And it's gotten so bad that if with them introducing a rotation system, they can get rid of these problematic cards from like the first year of the game in order to allow newer stuff to come out that can really help out the older ones and actually really accelerate the game into a much healthier, better state. But
the thing is that like I'm not a fan of a rotation system. I'd rather just continue with a ban restriction list for the next while, especially once again with the infancy of the game, and also to keep more cards relevant. If you ban like maybe like 2, 3, maybe 4 cards that break mechanics, you know, every few months, that's okay, because then we still have full sets to be able to or the rest of the set to be able to play with up from the original set. Whereas when we start cycling in and out sets, just like Pokemon currently does for tournaments, all that stuff, then all of a sudden we run into that problem that Joe mentioned, where, you know, like you get to a point where you're collecting cards and then now these cards aren't even relevant because you can't use them anymore, right?
Exactly.
Like, while I'm upset about the last ban because the last ban got rid of my key fucking card, Bandai, I fucking hate you. Anyways, I also understand why, because the card that did get banned from my deck, it was not overpowered in my deck, but every other deck that it did show up in, it was super fucking overpowered. Like
Gecko?
Yep. I'm a purple black Luffy player. So for context, for guys who don't know, the
Yeah, we know, but none of them do.
For the people who don't, the people who don't, you know, not you guys, but the people who don't know, the card, one of the cards that was banned, the Moria, allowed on play. It's a character card. You play it, and then you can bring back, or you can play 2 character cards from your graveyard automatically, just as is. So in one turn, you can have 3 characters just show up onto the field. and that is kind of overpowered. Like there's no cost for it. There was no requirement for you to do it. You just play your card, and then suddenly you get 2 more cards. That's crazy. So
although it was broken in certain decks, like Lucci, one Gecko play could put like 5 bodies on one board in one turn. So it was pretty disgusting. But
yeah,
it made sense.
because you can chain effects, because when you bring back a character card, that character card you brought back could also have an on-play effect, which you'll have to resolve before you can continue the match. And yeah, no, it was overpowered. I just kind of needed it to make my deck relevant.
There's a good question for you two guys. Again, not that me and Blair don't know, but just because we want you guys to explain.
We're know.
Yeah, for sure,
Curtis is asking, so what's the difference between having a limited card pool rotation versus an eternal ban list that will restrict the number of viable competitive decks anyway?
Well, okay, so like in my opinion, I think the major difference is a limited card pool means that at some point you're just restricting a whole entire set from being played. So for example, in Pokemon, I can't remember what sets are currently relevant versus what's not, but Pokemon has
it's talking about base current.
That's half the problem.
Pokemon has how many sets that are just not relevant anymore because they are not part of the rotation pool. But then having a ban list will only ban very specific cards that break the game. So for example, you can have a ban list that will consist of maybe 4 cards across multiple sets, but once again, the rest of that set can still be used in current competitive play, which I think is significantly better, because a ban list once again will only focus on major imbalances in the meta. Something that will totally break a system or abuse a system, so on and so forth. But how many sets are not relevant?
Not relevant due to power creep.
It just depends on the card game, because, for example, if we were to look at, say, like Yu-Gi-Oh, right, where Yu-Gi-Oh has everything access from base set to current, I would
That's
say
kind of cool.
I'd probably say about 85% of older sets are relevant, just because of power creep that exists and intrinsically in that game and how it functions. Maybe like the past few years, sets are pretty relevant, but anything older than that, it's more of like you're either chasing for like super cool versions of cards, or there's like a specific niche card you kind of need for your deck. But majority of stuff will typically get reprinted, so it's no longer relevant, which is something that Yu-Gi-Oh does pretty well at. But they also suck when it comes to actually being able to get your cards half the time, because let's say you get a booster box and there's like, hey, I need like these secret rares, and there's like 2 and there's like 2 in a box, but there's like 12 to 14 in the set. You're like, I don't know if I'm going to get these, and therefore that spikes the cards of the price of the cards outright. So it's annoying when you have a card game that has a rotation versus when it doesn't, because when it doesn't have a rotation, you're constantly having to reprint cards, but you're also having to print new sets to kind of combat this, and also sometimes do reprints. It gets kind of convoluted for what they're trying to go with. Like, it sucks to rotate cards and have that be implemented as a system. I get that. But considering the fact that Magic and Pokemon have been doing it for literally years, it makes sense for them, because things just no longer become relevant because of mechanics and how things work. Yeah, but for a newer game like One Piece, it's harder because the game's not even like 3 years old. But they're realizing that they have problems with the initial first year of the game, being like, we might have printed some screwed up cards that we hung together the game.
But also, yeah, and like that unfortunately is only discovered through time, right? Like once more sets come out, we start seeing how different cards interact with other cards. We start to realize combinations that weren't actually possible before are now possible, and it could totally fucking break the game. Also, as an ex-Yu-Gi-Oh player, fuck Yu-Gi-Oh. Look, I'm just saying, if I go to a locals for Pokemon, for Magic, for fucking or like an actual tournament, the prizing is actually decent. You could walk away with $300, $400, $500. If you're going to a box tournament, you could walk around with over $2,000 worth of shit. If you go to a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament, they give you a mat, slap you in the ass, and call it a day. And then next thing you know, you're with your boys at the KFC playing Yu-Gi-Oh again.
Yeah, I mean,
he's not wrong. I know. He's not wrong.
I fucking know.
Okay. There's something I want you to explain to me, Boros, because I was looking into current updates of Pokemon. So, what is the point of constantly releasing sets so close to each other, like back to back, within like a few months? Like, would that not? Is that part of that rotation we're talking about, or like, what's the deal with that one?
I will explain this in the best way I possibly can. The way that Pokemon's been working as of recent years, ever since Scarlet and Violet has come out, is that they're trying to get themselves caught up with Japan as best as they possibly can, to the point we're no longer 3 to 4 months behind. We're like a month or two behind, which is really good for Japanese card games, because in comparison to Bandai is trying to make all their card games basically one-to-one release, like on a universal scale. Like I think Digimon's getting to that point. Gundam's going to be a universal release with with North America, Japan, and China. I think are the three ones that are starting off with that. And effectively speaking, Pokemon is just trying to push it out. The problem is that people are looking at Pokemon as a whole rather than just looking at like different regions as far as how they work. Because you earlier mentioned about like, oh, there's all these different sets, and I'm like, is it a Japan release, or is it a North American release? Is it a Chinese release?
Makes
like,
sense. Makes sense.
There's so many different things, right? And the problem is that it's gotten so skewed to the point because product for Pokemon has become so hard to get that people are going to Japanese and Chinese sets, and so now they're looking at all the releases, and I'm like, time out. You guys are going super hard on this when you don't need to, because, for example, a Japanese booster box of Pokemon goes typically for about $50-$60, and then it comes stateside and it's like over $100, $120, $140+ and you're just like, why? Because you guys are going nuts for this? It's gotten so bad. It's gotten terrible.
English cards right across the board, doesn't matter what IP it is, they're just significantly more expensive.
I will say with Pokemon, the Japanese versions never used to be like sought after in the beginning. That was my experience. But now it's like they're on par, if not sometimes possibly higher. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
they're cheaper by comparison, but only because certain sets are really bad about it. For example, if you guys have not heard about Prismatic Evolutions that came out in June.
Oh, how have I not heard about that? The fucking oh god, that Costco video. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, no, that set right there is basically its own miniature set inside of Japan, where like if you get a booster box, you're guaranteed one of those special illustration rares no matter what, right? You're guaranteed one per box. But we don't have those boxes here in the States. They made it a side set with ass pull rates. Like they're just terrible.
Fucking regional exclusives are fucking annoying.
Oh, dude, I know for One Piece, right? Or just
for everything, like right across the board. It's just I can understand when it's tied to like, let's say, like a live event, something where you need to be present in order to be able to acquire it, because obviously, marketing and all that business, that makes sense. That's fine. But when you have specific cards that are only sold in specific regions, that's an issue, like exclusivity because of like an event or something like that is cool. That's fine.
Agreed.
But like exclusivity because of region, that's just dumb, because now
I got a nasty one for you real quick.
Like player bases are just going to be left out of certain things, like that sucks.
Wait, Curtis, what do you mean they suck? Promo cards are alright depending on how they do the promo cards. If it's an event, that's cool. If it's in a Nintendo Power Magazine, I'm fine with that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it comes in a game, maybe not a game because you gotta buy the fucking game. But like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's okay.
But like a promo card is still different than like a set being released in specific regions, right? Like a promo card, once again, is usually attached to something. There's some
the Pokemon Van Gogh one comes to mind. FYI, the Pokemon Van Gogh one.
I want that fucking card. Give me that Pikachu.
I do have one card that came out, or rather, it's being slowly released over time. That's really bad. So if you guys don't know, in the 151 set for Pokemon, they basically did a printing of every single Pokemon from Generation 1, including a Mew. The Mew EX has a regular printing, has a full art, has a gold secret rare. Later on in the set, Paldean and Fates, it came in with a shiny version, right? The Bubble Mew, and also a regular full art shiny version. And the Bubble Mew stateside is the most expensive, being worth about $300-ish.
Damn.
In China, of all places, they are doing a system where every single week they're releasing about 10 of these via a lottery system. So there's going to be 1,510 versions of these Mews in total, with brand new artwork that's so breathtaking that it makes it look like it came out of Pokemon Pocket.
Bro, people are gonna get stabbed for that. They're crazy. Lottery?
No.
Nah.
I'm fighting some kid. I see some kid walking around with it, I'm punching him in the face.
This reminds me of that. This reminds me of that time they're giving out a specific promo transformer at the Eden Center. My sister went for me, and she had to fill out the survey. But there's a kid who's like, "Mom, you gotta do this quickly to fill out the survey." She saw the kid, so she's just like cooking the survey, and she got the last.
Yeah.
And she got the last one, and she told me the story after. Like, yeah, she's like, I left with it. This kid's walking up all like happy with his mom. I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna get out of here. Oh God. Oh, sorry, Blair. I think your mic. You switched your mic because it's very light now.
You sound so far away, dude.
You sound
You sound
echoey.
very, very quiet.
My camera did have some issues where it disconnected for a little bit. Not too sure what changed on that. Let's see.
But like I remember promo cards. I got the E3 Pikachu from Nintendo Power, the Mewtwo art illustration by I think it was a Magic the Gathering guy. That was kind of cool. Not that they're worth anything because everybody got it, but like it's cool to have. Like I'm fine with that.
You don't know that now because like a lot of the old vintage stuff is going up in price just because of like people want to like relive nostalgia of like
About that, not about that, but about because you remind me. Also, Curtis says, "Is your webcam? Is it using your webcam mic? Maybe."
Thanks for the question.
Wait, go on.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was Discord. When that switched, it went to something else rather than staying on the mic I had.
Okay. Before you continue, I'm just gonna add real quick because we talked about prismatic evolutions. Raven will know this. I'm not gonna mention the store's name, but that guy in the mall that I work in, once that shit went like crazy, he doubled the price of the box in his store. Just saying. God, but continue, Blair. Continue, Blair.
My question for you guys is because like the regional thing you guys were talking about, and I do agree. I think that is annoying because your cards are locked to us ever getting them, and as people that like this stuff, we like these alternative arts. They're fun to look at. We enjoy these things. I found it also quite crazy when I learned, I think it was Lorcana, if you buy the crates and buy the boxes of them, they'll guarantee give you one of their promo cards. So the only people that gain access to these cards are generally store owners or people that are doubling down on getting these crates. What I think is crazy about this is that just like you're talking about, Anton, or sorry, Raven, with your cards or with One Piece, Lorcana is blown up and it's getting hard to find these things, so the pricing of the cards have gone up, the pricing of the boxes has gone up, and then you have these promo cards are locked behind you buying crates so that you can get access to it, which then adds more scarcity to this. And at first I was like, okay, this is crazy, like how expensive are these cards? And again, I'm not playing this, a buddy of mine's one that showed it to me. Some of the cards from some of the recent sets are like $1,000 for the card, a single card, and to me that's obscene, especially with it being so new in its infancy. It's not something that's had time to generate a long following like you guys were talking about with like One Piece, where it's only been around for a few years. Magic, I can kind of get it because we have Secret Lair and all these things where there's specifically tailored cards, but they're not necessarily locking you out of being able to play these. They're just alternative arts of existing cards, right? So to me that it seems more money hungry than it does seem healthy for like the growth of the cards.
Yeah, I think honestly speaking, having I don't mind promo cards, all of that stuff. I don't mind exclusive cards, but I would mind them less if they were just the same card that we already have, just in a different art, blah blah blah, because then now I'm not being locked out of a potentially amazing card because I can't acquire it due to whatever fucking reason, you know what I mean? But I literally have a card right now that literally you can't get unless you buy one of these stupid like a celebration boxes or like something that is not just a booster pack. And I bought it because I really wanted the card, but if I didn't, I would have had to spend $150 for a single card. That is fucking stupid. Like,
Yeah.
that's
And he has that Anton card too.
oh yeah, I do. Wait, let me get it.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Because like on the reverse side of things, right? I play Pokemon, and playing Pokemon on the competitive level, it is dirt cheap. Like to build like a tier 1 competitive deck in standard costs like not even $100 USD. It is so cheap to play. But the problem isn't so much the fact how cheap it is; it's the fact that you're having to buy your singles. Sometimes you just want to open a booster box and you get a bunch of like bulk stuff you would need for like different decks, and you just can't even find that. So it's just like, yeah, you can buy your singles and save money, but if you want to have like a general like wide variety of stuff to have access to, you have to shell it out, and it sucks because the game is so cheap to play, but to collect it costs you like an arm and a leg for literally no reason.
See, but and then with boosters is like obviously it's the you can't see it, but I got that for his was it birthday, Christmas, one of those things.
Oh, I think I remember
No,
this.
I think
Yeah.
it was birthday.
Try to put it
Is
to
it
your
a
face,
tournament
beside
game?
your face. No. I gave him overpowered stats because I thought it'd be more cooler that way, but then now he can't even use it as a proxy because it's too powerful.
Yeah, I can't even
cut
use
this
it as a
out,
proxy
huh?
because it just like it doesn't match up with an actual card.
You should just play it one day and don't say anything. It's like, yeah, it's one of a kind. They only made one of these.
Legit,
Yeah.
though.
How are you doing 8,000 damage? Don't worry about it. And then they slap the backhand the kid.
No, we're talking about all TCGs, Nick. We're all talking about different TCGs.
all TCGs, yeah. But yeah. On that note, like I think companies need to do better at balancing cards. Once again, like the usability of a card will also kind of play a part in how much the street value of the card will be, kind of deal. Just like we've seen this specifically in One Piece with Gum Gum Giant, so on and so forth. Gum Gum Giant is only a basic rare, but then once people start realizing how overpowered of a card it was, it just jumped in price significantly.
What you don't want counter power and getting 2 cards out of it? That's crazy, right?
But like that, but that's the thing, right? Like now, even though it's an expensive card, I think companies need to work better on balancing and creating relevant decks and relevant plays with, you know, common cards, cards that are easily accessible or cheap, or if not both, because then you end up in situations like One Piece where a single purple deck can cost you an upwards of $500 if you want a proper deck list and so on and so forth. Whereas in Pokemon, I know there are decks that are like sub $20 that you can put together that will be relevant for a tournament. You know?
Oh yeah, because the reason why my Pokemon does this is because they want to make sure the game is as cheap and affordable as possible. They'll even put out like league decks where if you buy like one of those decks and you need to buy like your subsequential singles, it's going to cost you maybe like $30-$40 to pick up the league deck, and like maybe additional like 30 to 40 for whatever singles you can get. And a lot of those cards are universally used between several different decks. So like, well, I want to build this deck, you can just tear apart like, you know, 60% of the deck that you don't need, and the other 40% you need because it's just like staple cards you otherwise would use for other ones. It's really that much easier because they're commons, commons, uncommons, they're gonna be easy to get your hands on. So it's not that hard to keep up with the game. However, inversely, if you want to bling out your deck, holy crap.
So
I respect
that's
people who
what
can
I-
bling a deck, but I can't.
Yeah.
I can't put money to that, man. That's too much.
But that's what I want. Like, give us
Just gold
I'm fine
chains.
with ultimate arts of cards and stuff like that, because I think ultimate arts should be our chases. Those should be the cards that we really want because they're beautiful, the art is great, blah blah blah. But I think that cards should be released in the sense that they have a common version, something that's easily pulled, blah blah blah, and then they have alternate versions of those cards that in turn will be our chase cards. That's how we bling out our decks. That's how we get them. Like that's how we still continue to have this card value type shit because of that.
I feel. Correct me if I'm wrong, Boros. I feel like that's how the Gundam game is working. No, like there's like the regular version of the card, and then there's like the alternative. Yeah, right.
It's going to be the same thing as One Piece for how it functions. We're going to have like base rarities of everything available to us. They're going to be pretty common to get our hands on, like the basic super rares and stuff like that. But if we want to bling out our decks and go for the alt arts, it's going to cost us an arm and a leg, especially for like the hype that's going to be based around this. It's going to be so hard for us to get our hands on any of those alt arts. They're going to be so stupidly expensive.
Okay, but, I mean, but the point is though, like they have like a common version of them, which means deck building shouldn't be crazy, I guess is what I'm getting at.
It
I don't-
shouldn't. But at the same time, it depends on how much they print in the sets.
Yeah.
And how accessible those are going to be for us to get our hands on. Because in particular, right? Whenever any new set comes out, and there's like a massive influx, like a big wave of it that comes out for any players to get their hands on it, it's not going to be that hard for us to be able to get our basic copies of cards to be able to play the game. However, if there's hype around some of these certain cards, they're going to go up in price.
Sure, okay,
to the
fair.
point where like, hey,
That's fair.
yeah, like if you want like the basic super version of these cards, they can go for like $30-$40 if it's a chase card or a desired card for competitive play. Because basically with One Piece and even Gundam, right, these card games are designed for tournament play specifically. Collectability wise, phenomenal, but tournament wise, there's a huge reason that a lot of these sets are going to be open up where the supers are going to go for $5-$10 a pop, if not even more, just because people are going to need their copies in order to play with it. It's different for Pokemon because in Pokemon, your chases are only going to be like very few, but if you want to play the game, you buy a whole booster case, you're guaranteed a place of everything, and that's like not even $1,000 for a booster case at best. And if you want your singles, it's not even going to cost you a few $100s to pick them up. But it's different for other card games just because they don't print enough of it at times. So
Is that
a TCG for us? It's going to hurt.
Okay, so Blair, would you say that's also in the Magic the Gathering game set, or no? Go, please elaborate.
No, Magic is just straight up expensive. Depending
There's
on
no
what
other way
you're-
to describe it.
Yeah,
Is
depending on
that
what you're getting
because
into.
is that because of how long it's existed at this point, or like what makes?
He's like, nope. No.
I honestly
Besides you.
with COVID. Yeah, I think part of it has
Besides
to do
you, baby.
with COVID a little bit because everyone had an influx of money and everyone just started buying into these cardboard markets, so it started raising the price and accessibility. And then as things blew up, specifically we had a couple expansions that came through that really blew up the Magic scene. I think Lord of the Rings was a really big one.
The Fallout one too.
Yeah, Fallout was another one. So they started doing these kind of crossover IPs that have pulled other markets in. Like, I mean, in the future we have what Final Fantasy coming out in June.
Yeah.
Spider-Man
I'm actually planning on picking up some of those cards.
Like we have Avatar in November too, right? So like we have all these random IPs coming in. Like as an example, I started going back to doing draft tournaments. I went in for Foundations. This was the second last set since Tarkir, or maybe the set before. And they're trying to set like a precedence on these expansions because it is getting a little crazy. And I was like, oh, I want to build a deck with a race called Eldrazi, generally a bit more expensive. And like I'm looking at the sets, and at base opening, one of the cards I wanted was $98 for a single card. This is the alternative art that isn't the like shiny or foil. And I think last I checked it, it's just gone up. It's like 140 or 150 bucks for a single card.
Here's what makes it even worse about that. It's not so much about the card is $90, right? It's the fact that because of how many cards there are in the set in total, you're not even guaranteed to pull one of those within like 3 booster boxes of the set.
Yeah.
Because of how much booster boxes cost, the price of that card is going to match up with how much people are willing to spend on it. Because they're like, why would I drop money on a booster box when I can just buy the card I need and only get it, because like a booster box is costing me between what 150, 180 now, and yeah, it's pricey, and that's just for one booster box. And you're not even guaranteed to pull like your money's worth of these boxes half the time because of the way they structure the boxes. Because they purposely print lower end like copies of certain cards just because they know people are going to want these, right?
Yep. So
it gets really crazy and out of hand. Also, to point out one of the biggest problems with why Magic's so expensive, this happened around like 2015, 2016. Wizards came out with a consensus, like basically just like a random survey for everybody. And they found out that like 90-ish% of Magic players are casual players. They don't go to tournaments. They don't grind or do anything.
That's me.
And the problem with casual players is that they drop
hey.
more money than the average. No.
Yeah, the problem with you guys.
Casual players will drop more money than competitive players more times than not because they want to bling out their decks because they're never going to get rid of it, right?
Yeah,
so Magic has shifted their perspective of going
Stop
away from competitive to casual, and it's really affected the overall market of the game and what it was trying to accomplish.
Listen, I'm sorry, I don't have a weekend to go down to wherever store and smell the guy in front of me who didn't wear deodorant. Right?
You Beavers. Okay, to be fair, I can't speak to those people, but the One Piece guys actually fucking showers.
I think it was.
And if you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh, you just can't.
Oh no, Yu-Gi-Oh's the worst according to Blair. Blair tells me Yu-Gi-Oh's macho.
Dude, no, Konami came out with the rule saying that if you smell with like bad like BO and everything else, you get kicked out. They're kicking you out for having bad hygiene in Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments.
good.
Oh,
like,
Thank
straight up.
God.
Honestly, it needs to. When you can smell someone before they enter the facility and they're going to be playing games with you for the next 2-3 hours, I'm sorry, it's just a little too much.
Yeah, that's no bueno. That's not.
There was a question, Burrows, if you can answer, that came up in
What's up?
chat. Booster case is 12 booster boxes in this context, right, for Pokemon?
No, actually, booster box of booster kits of Pokemon is actually 6 booster boxes. But the reason why it's 6 instead of a normal like higher count is because the hit rates for Pokemon are so much higher than most other card games.
That's
you can
fair.
basically get about like 10 to 12 different hits in like 36 booster packs, which is higher than most games. So you don't really going to have like a hard time getting like some of the cooler cards you want. It's just the fact that there's a premium. I'm getting a booster case now of Pokemon that it costs you more than what you want, because there's a good chance you're going to pull the chase card of the set, and depending on the set, it makes or breaks the potential. So it's kind of rough.
And then I just want to call a specific comment in chat. Rusted Nick says, "Hey, I resent that. Well, maybe you should take a shower."
Damn. He also had a question.
What was his question?
Do you guys feel that the Digimon or One Piece TCG will be able to compete with the big three? Well, that depends. What are you considering the big three here, as well, though?
Well, I'm gonna
It's
put
so
it out
you
there.
get Magic and Pokemon right now.
Okay,
Yeah,
fair.
I'm gonna put it out there. One Piece will be up there in a few years. Like for
It
sure.
seems like it's taking off really well, like from what I could tell.
Oh, it's taking off, and like I said, like I made the joke earlier where like Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments, you only get fucking like a play mat and then a slap in the ass. But like genuinely, One Piece tournaments they're giving out proper prizing. Like you can actually get cash prizing if you, depending on the locals tournament you go to. You can get a full booster. You can do a full booster box tournament and walk away with like 5-6 booster boxes, which are at like retail price like $170 something. But like 5 of them means you're basically walking just short of $1,000 worth of product. Like I think the tough thing with a card game actually becoming a top tier one is the support from the manufacturer. Like. They have to be willing to support live events and continue doing shit like that to push the IP. And it's also One Piece, like
I mean,
just so fucking popular.
that's why I kind of feel like that's why I appreciate like Magic the Gathering. I know Wizards has done some like schemy stuff in the past, but like they will support the game. I was gonna say Pokemon did it too. There's a whole like documentary on this, but like
Actually, Pokemon supports its own card game the best out of the big three on
well, I mean now, but it was Wizards
No.
before too, right? Like
Yeah,
well, Wizards owned them for like the first like
Wizards
they were
held their own
producing
for a
cards
while.
for the first like I would say first 4 or 5 years, and then they got bought up by Nintendo, and Nintendo took it off from that point. They've held onto it since, but in recent years, it's gotten a lot better than like previous eras because it got expensive real quick, and now they're just trying to make all the cards as affordable and as obtainable as possible for the average player, so that way they don't feel like they're excluded from playing in tournaments, which is the biggest problem right now. Is getting people
But
to
Joe,
play.
what were you getting at?
it's just like I appreciate the fact that like people like Magic the Gathering still they will back the game. Like even the Bandai with the Gundam game, they did so many of those preview events to try to get the hype up in North America, right? Like I would never have gotten the context and how it works until I went to one of those events and played, and then I taught you how to play. But it was kind of, would you say similar to One Piece, the game style?
It's a similar concept to One Piece, but like once again, like I learned from you because you also were able to go to one of those events, and like like you were trying for quite some time to get into the beta event. You even got me to sign up for a bunch of things just to
Didn't
try
work.
to get you into a beta event.
Didn't
work. But then they still
feel bad
kept
for Joe 'cause
doing
they got no
other events outside of the beta stuff so that they can get more people into the IP, which like I think was smart. It's a cool card game. I think if anyone is looking into getting into a TCG besides the ones that we all play and love, like Gundam will be a really cool one coming up.
And I will say, when I learned to play Magic and I finally understood how it worked, that game is interesting. There's so many ways to build your deck, and with the depending on what format you play too. I still haven't played Commander. I know I have a Commander deck. There's even the guy I was following on YouTube
Monday, Joe.
on dude, but I will play. But the point being, I do like how Magic's set out, and the fact that you could play different formats also appeals to me. I will say the power creep is super real in that game because I built the Legacy deck, but a lot of those cards can't do shit to. Like, for instance, when I built my deck, it's cool on concept, But then when I get to a Planeswalker, I can't do anything to it because it's based on legacy cards where Planeswalkers didn't exist. I guess like I just want to point out that like it's always gonna be popular, but I wonder, can you can't use the crossover sets in tournaments. It's mostly like for fun play then, yeah?
No, not entirely.
Yeah, just depends on what they are and how they were released.
Yeah. So like a lot of the IP based sets are going to be either like, for example, the SpongeBob particularly that came out is a lot of reprints of existing cards. So it's just nothing more than like an alternate art. But in the sense of say like the Assassin's Creed set, you couldn't. I don't. Is it standard legal or was it printed to be standard legal?
I don't remember if those are standard legal. I missed that hiatus when it came through, but I know that like the Spider-Man, Final Fantasy, and Avatar, they will be part of the rotation going forward for the next.
That's interesting.
How many years?
Okay, yeah. So it's not just a gimmick. That's interesting.
But as an example, in the past with the Lord of the Rings set, that right there was not printed to be standard legal, but it was printed to be played in modern, legacy, and vintage. So you can use those cards in some of those older formats because they realized if they had printed in the standard, there would be too much chaos. It would not have been fun.
And Angry, go on. Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say it's interesting too, like just from the conversations you guys have brought up. One of the things that I found Magic at least has really taken hold of in the last 5 years is the crazy power creep and the way that they broke down the rulings so that the verbiage when you're reading through it has very specific key terms on when things will work. There's a lot of cards I've used over and over again that I've relearned there are ways to interact with it or play with it because a new card has come to the rotation that allows the specific wording to do very gnarly things. So like when you brought up in One Piece there's purple decks where you play down a card and it summons 5 things. That's almost kind of common now in standard where you go into tournament matches where people have tweaked decks with just new cards and they have these things where I play one card and synergy of 6 things happen because this thing is built as such.
For sure, and I think that in any TCG, a card that allows you to play multiple bodies on the same turn will always be something that a player would choose above anything else, because once again, more bodies means more actions for yourself to be able to do things, whether it is hit life or whatever it is in your specific TCG, right? I think the problem with that is that when your current sets aren't built around combating that or being able to handle that kind of situation, having a card that stands above the rest being able to summon multiple bodies is an issue. And I'm still sad about it. Like as I hold my fucking deck in my hand, Bandai, I need the card back. Bring it to me. Just start snapping.
The ban list that you were talking about too. Like I know a lot of people get upset about these, especially with like rare cards. Boros, correct me on this one because I think you also played Magic. Commander generally was one of the ones that didn't really have like a crazy ban list, and then they ended up dropping the ban hammer on some cards that were really expensive for people to get their hands on.
So the thing with Commander is that when that first came out in its initial phases, it was nothing more than like a fun format that was initially created by a bunch of judges that were waiting to play D&D. I shit you not. Like there's a reason why it was called EDH or Elder Dragon Highlander, because all like the commanders of deck were the Elder Dragons from like way back in the day, and so they decided that they were just going to create this fun format to play in the meanwhile. But eventually it got to the point where people started like realizing this is a really fun format, and so Wizards decided like we'll make official decks and everything else, but it's blown up out of proportion by comparison. And so the ban lists are now in conjunction with certain cards being too restrictive or too powerful, because they can either like insta win the game or whatever. But I know as of recent they just unbanned Coalition Victory, which was a card that was under a hot point of contention of like, why is this card banned? It costs 8 mana, but I can immediately win the game if I meet these conditions. I'm like, yeah, this card should have been unbanned an eternity ago, but they just didn't know if it was the right time or not. And they're like, all right, we're here now. And it's like, yep, good thing about it.
I think it just hurts because these things are so expensive, and if you play in Tenny's formats like Anton just bring up, where you built a deck around it, you spend, let's say, $120 to get those 4 cards in your deck, Banhammer drops, and it's like, well, there's a $120 investment I put into the system, and at least from what I'm hearing, it doesn't seem like there's like a legacy system. Maybe if you're playing with friends, they won't care, but there isn't really like Bandai hasn't set up a metric where you can use those cards outside of that and still have like an agreement between people. Because I know EDH for Commander or for Magic the Gathering, they released like a tier system for Commander now. It's something they didn't necessarily do to kind of be like, hey, here's a creep that you guys can set up, and there's a metric to kind of measure this by to make it easier. And I don't know if that's partially to do with, again, that the game is still kind of in its infancy and it's still kind of curving out its metas and concepts and how they want to go about stuff, because they have a lot of content to work with. They have, what, 25 years worth of characters and lore to work with it, so...
Oh, yeah, there's so many different characters across the history of One Piece and the story that's come out with it, that they will never not be able to keep up with everything, because they're constantly going to be able to, like, oh yeah, here's a Luffy in every different color and every different iteration from every different age that you've seen him from the series, right? But then you'd be like, oh, but yeah. No, go ahead.
I just think that, like, it's the longevity side of it, where, you know, we start getting major ban hammers and we start getting different formats like we spoke about earlier because of the introduction of new sets as well as new mechanics going forward, right? And especially when new mechanics get brought in and either the old mechanics can't keep up with the current metas, blah blah blah. That's when we start really getting into these like different formats and seeing different things. But unfortunately, or fortunately, at this point, One Piece does not have that problem. We just get fucked up ban hammers before fucking somebody's locals tournament and has to remove the card.
I feel like I could just take a snippet of every time he loses it on Bandai and the card game and put it as a super cut.
I'm just like, okay, I swear on my fucking life. So my buddy T messaged me like before one of the locals tournaments, and he was just floating around Toronto, going to different card shops and just seeing what people's inventories were. And he ran into that card, the Moria that got banned, and he's like, hey, did you want me to pick this up for you, blah blah blah, I know you want it. And I was like, you know what, I'll hold off for a second, like, you know, I'm sure I'll find it at another shop. And maybe less than a fucking day later it got banned, so I had to remove 3 cards from my deck. You know how hard it is to put together 50 cards that are actually cohesive together? It's already difficult enough, and now you decide to get rid of fucking 3 of my goddamn cards. Fuck, Bandai, sponsor.
Well, in all fairness, your crash out is very valid, because Gecko Moria was the reason why certain black decks in One Piece were relevant.
Exactly. And like that's the problem with like certain things, because like you can have a tier list of like your leaders or your decks across all fucking TCGs, and like you can usually put them at competitive, you know, somewhat competitive, locals only, so on and so forth. I went from a competitive deck because of that card to a locals only with my deck. Like that's how harsh the ban hammer was. But that's irrelevant. We keep talking about Black Moria. You guys keep bringing it up. You guys should stop doing that.
Drama.
Listen.
Every time he just goes,
deflect.
Now, I guess
I do want to ask you guys, like, how is the meta currently in your respective TCGs? Like, is it good? Is it fun? Are you guys having a great time? Do you feel like certain things should be changed? Do you feel like a certain card is kind of ruining the meta? Like, let us know what is going on. That includes you, chat. Like, drop it.
I mean, I can go off on Pokemon real quick, because Pokemon's recently had its rotation.
Yeah, go ahead, Boros. Like,
yeah. So
let us know.
With the rotation that just happened, we got rid of the last year of Sword and Shield, which got rid of so much like consistency cards that allowed decks to function, but it also got rid of like some of the more toxic decks that have kind of allowed them to kind of be like too good in the game. So now with the rotation, we are Scarlet and Violet only, which is great but terrifying, just because there are certain decks that are just like proven themselves to be like really good. Like, I think right now the most popular deck is Dragapults, which has like a 30% split on the overall meta. It's like the most popular deck, and it would probably be more popular if they hadn't printed a card that said, oh yeah, this is giving all of your types weakness on it, because, you know, if you play Pokemon on the games, there's super effective weaknesses and stuff like that can affect them like double damage and stuff like that, right? That's kind of how it's always been with Pokemon. There's always like type advantages and disadvantages. So they brought back Dragon, the typing of Dragon back in Sword and Shield, but it had no weakness because they removed Fairy from the game. And rather than just giving Dragon, you know, weakness to Dragon, which is like typical since the very beginning of time, they're like, no, dragons don't have a weakness. And then they're like, oh, but we're gonna print this one card that gives the dragon type a weakness, and we're like, so now it's fair and balanced, right? Where it can work itself out. But it doesn't change the fact that the game itself, there are certain cards that if you have no way to play around them, you're screwed.
Yeah, you're just iron walled, like.
Yeah,
But do you find
that.
like decks? So like, for example, in One Piece, when it comes to the tier list is based on like the potential win rate of a deck, right? And win rates will kind of vary between like 45% win chance versus like a 55% win chance. So for the most part, things are, air quotation, relatively balanced. Is that the same thing with Pokemon, where like the different decks or different, like whatever, the different meta decks do have like a 50% chance of winning based on skill level, blah blah blah? Or do you find that there are certain decks that just
Part of the cards.
outplay everything? Yeah,
So
you basically Yugi. It's just a cheat deck.
Yugi knowed my way.
So you know how, for example, if you're playing against black and they drop 5-drop Sabo, and the only way you can get through is through chaos, but you can't now. Sometimes you can get stonewalled by certain cards against certain decks because there's no possible way of you getting around that. There is some counterplay that you can implement into your decks for like to tech against, but generally speaking, some decks just struggle just because of how they function and work. A good example of this is the Guard of War deck. Guard of War, for how it functions, right? It accelerates energy from your discard, but you also take damage while you're also doing that. But for some cards, it works extremely well because, like, oh, the more damage I have on this Pokemon, the more damage I can output, right? So you can kind of like snipe off and get some cheeky KOs to take your prizes faster. But in other decks, they're like, oh, we can go ahead and just do some spread damage where you can go ahead and just take like a 3 or even a 4 prize knockout in one turn because you decided to set yourself up like that, right? There's multiple different routes that every single deck tries to incorporate with itself, where you can have that 45 to 55% split for the win rate against your certain matchups. However, it also just comes down to circumstances and whether or not you can basically put yourself in a win-win, no-lose situation that can happen at times. So it's better than other card games, but not as good as others. Like, I think that One Piece, by comparison, is a much better competitive card game, personally. But I also
but what about that card that Raven hates? No, don't bring it up again. I'm sorry.
No, I won't. But I do think the issue with Bandai. No, it's like objectively speaking here right now, the most competitive, best card game to play is definitely One Piece currently, just because the price system and everything else with it is just better than others. It is significantly better than others for the most part, to the point where if you even get top 32 at a regional or a treasure cup or anything else, your pricing is better than like getting top cut at a Yu-Gi-Oh regional.
Look, anything's better than fucking a Yu-Gi-Oh regional. All right,
Oh,
I'd rather just go to the dumpster and hang out with the hobos than go to a Yu-Gi-Oh regional.
Like,
I'm sorry if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh player in chat. Like, I know I used to be one
I
too,
ain't
but
sorry.
like y'all need to be better.
There's
all
so much
right?
hate towards Yu-Gi-Oh here.
It's
Well,
like
okay,
it's like
okay.
My Hero Academia fans. Y'all just smell like.
No.
Hey, fuck you.
I will gladly explain the issue with Yu-Gi-Oh right now.
Shots fired.
So, if you guys don't know how bad the Yu-Gi-Oh competitive scene has been the past few years, the fact that there was a company that decided that, I think as of last year, they're like, oh, we're sorry that the pricing is pretty bad. We'll tell you what, top 8 at a regional, you'll also win an air fryer. And we're like, oh, that's it? Just a fucking air fryer?
Whoa! I was gonna say, what are you? Yeah, I'll take a fucking air fryer. Fuck.
Yeah.
But you gotta understand, getting top 8 at a Yu-Gi-Oh regional has always been like a playmat and a deck box. That's maybe like $150 worth of value right there.
Yeah, that's fucking nothing. Playmat goes suck my. You know, I'm not gonna say it because it's not my channel, but
well, the funny part is that, like, back in the early days of Yu-Gi-Oh, having an official Yu-Gi-Oh playmat was a flex. those are hard to come by because you only could get those from like regionals and stuff like that.
I'm just gonna stick
Right.
to my Ultra Pro. I don't have one, but I mean, I figure that's like
Yeah,
the-
nowadays
like,
they're
but-
so incredibly common. No one gives a shit about playing Magic.
But once
because
again,
they all
that's the
have
thing.
money.
Like, you can go to a Pokemon regional tournament and actually walk away with cash, like actual fucking cash. You can go to like an MTG, you can go to One Piece, you can go to something and actually get value because they'll provide you with like booster packs, booster boxes, so on and so forth that you can in turn sell and create actual value, or even just continue to build on deck. Getting a playmat is like slapping me in the face and calling me bud. Like it's just disrespectful, and I don't want to waste my time, especially when more likely than not you're spending money to enter the tournament. You're wasting like 2-3 hours for what? Like jolly good fun? You should just go to a locals at that point.
See, I think
Like,
you're missing the point here, Raven, is that Yu-Gi-Oh cards and playing Yu-Gi-Oh thing is about the journey, not the reward.
yeah, the
It's also-
journey
that's
to
what we talked
fucking
about,
Joey Wheeler's sister. That's what.
No, wow.
No, objectively speaking here, it is wild because like there are some YCSs that get like over 2,000 players, and you're just like, we have this many players show up for a tournament, and the prize payout is literally like ass because like it's just terrible. Like unironically, they just announced that Yu-Gi-Oh is going to start introducing progressive pay scaling, or but not necessarily like a pay scale, but like price scaling for like top 32 and top 16 at like YCSs and stuff like that. Very similar to how One Piece does their pricing, crazily enough, where like if you make top 32, you get a prize card, top 16 get additional prize card, top 8 get additional prize card, stuff like that. They're introducing that now for YCSs, and it's like, oh, you guys are finally thinking about your players now. That's crazy. Anyway,
I wanted to backpedal because I want to hear the Magic side of things from Blair there.
I was actually just going to
Oh,
ask
okay.
Blair. Yeah, like tell us about the meta. Tell us about
And tell me why my cards are the best. No, I'm kidding.
tell us about the
Why does-
current play
why
of Magic. And are you a fan? Is it? Are there things that you feel like could use a major change? Are there cards that are way too overpowered that are imbalancing the meta? Like, let us know.
Yeah, I'm gonna start by saying anyone that plays mono red, you struggle in life, and that's why you play this.
Shut up! You shut your mouth, sir! You shut your
No,
mouth!
I'm kidding. I'm
You
jaded.
fuck.
I'm a control player, and I find that a lot of the meta right now, from what I've been seeing, because I've been mostly doing drafts at local stores, and then I do Arena Online. Arena Online just a little bit more easier for me to jump into games and start playing, whereas going to the stores, a little bit harder, more just logistically. But I've been noticing that in, let's say, online playing standard matchups, red is generally one of the more prevalent, just because the games are a lot faster. Traditionally, if you're playing a red deck, you're finishing the game within the 4th or 5th turn. Anything beyond that, generally, you're going to lose, because a lot of their decks are to outpower you. So a lot of people favor those things, because if you're like myself, like a control player, some of these matchups, if you're facing another control person, can be like 30 to 40 minutes just to take this person down. So I can understand why the meta has kind of shifted a bit more away from like big power creep cards, getting into the later segments, and getting more of what we call like early to mid game tier decks. This traditionally ends up being a lot of the red or blue-red mixes, which, if you guys are familiar, I believe is the blue-red mix-up. They have a lot of names for different color combinations because there's a lot of options available. And a lot of this comes down to quick synergy cards you're seeing, so things that a lot of the text is kind of interacting with things within cards. So like you were bringing up like commons, having place in One Piece where they can do added bonuses. In standard, you're not really going to see a lot of common cards being played. A lot of it will be focused on uncommons, rares, mythic rares, and trying to find utility out of these things that play together. I find in the side of it, this is why I like the drafting more. There's less of playing a very specific deck that has 4 cards that you're using to play a very synergized mindset. Within draft, you're drawing cards, building a deck, and it's more on partially your luck and then also how well you build your deck facing other people. And I've kind of enjoyed that a little bit more because it feels fresh when I'm facing someone, whereas now when I'm playing online and I'm playing against other people, I want to say every third deck I'm seeing is a red deck, and it's like I know I have 3 or 4 turns to make a difference, or they just win because every card they play just keeps progressing their their win conditions. And it's not something that I feel that it's broken. It's just more that it synergizes really well for an early, because early portions of most card games is generally you're getting your resources on the board, you're getting your early monsters or presents on the board.
Yeah.
Whereas Red doesn't give any cares about it. By the second card you're playing, like you're in Magic of 20 HP. I played games by the third or second turn, I'm down to 9 HP. How? I don't know. Shit's just crazy.
Fuck.
Listen, Blair. Listen, Blair. I didn't choose the red card life. The red card life chose me.
Yeah, I stand by my statement from earlier.
You basic bitch.
There is a question, but we'll hit that later because they're in ads as well. So we'll
when the
continue.
ad's done.
Yeah.
Boom.
But
Oh, that's fine.
I will say in terms of like I've never tried draft. I've only done standard, and I have a commander deck. Haven't played it yet. But what I've noticed about deck building, what I thought was a really cool concept that they came out with, I don't know how many years ago at this point, was the I forgot what it was called, the set, but like basically you could smash 2 of those booster cards and you got a deck, like instantly got a deck.
Jumpstart.
That's it, Jumpstart. And that was a very interesting like way to get into Magic if you weren't really confident. Like I'm not confident in my deck building skills, so like that was really cool to see. And I think there should be options like that for each of the card series in case you're not really good. Like I know Anton could like sat down with the Gundam beta card set and just like this is the deck, and he made a deck. Like when that game fully comes out, he's probably gonna do some. He's probably gonna pick some better cards, but like this is like what he would pick, kind of thing. So I don't have that ability. I think it's cool to have that.
Yeah,
and I think
the ability is autism.
It's not enough red, is what he's seeing in his decks. That's what it is.
Joe's just like, I don't like this. It's not enough red cards.
I think the problem with getting into Magic in comparison to some of these newer TCGs is that there is such a wide variety of cards. Like, to get into Standard right now, I don't know what your rotation is, but Standard for us is about 12 sets of cards, and each set's about 150 to 175 different cards. So there's quite a bit of options available to just wrap your head around on building decks, and because of that I do find it's interesting, because sure, you're going to have the decks that rise up in tournaments using new cards, new strategies, but it's always as it settles and people start kind of mixing old cards with new setups or realizing certain mechanics between it, you can really see some interesting gems pop up as the meta kind of gets a chance to simmer and play with itself, because it has a lot to work with. But then for Joe, your question where you're like, oh, my older deck, you know, if you want to play like Legacy or anything else like that, well, I think, what did it last check? It's 175 different sets that opens up to, which you can literally get into like one game or one turn wins or infinite combos or anything else like that. But those aren't really made to be competitive scenes. They're just like, you know, you're having fun with friends.
Oh, of course, yeah.
The decks are just so ridiculous to that point.
Otherwise, at that point, you're playing solitaire the game, which is what Magic is half the time.
Like, with later things,
Oh my god. I hate to say it, call it solitaire, but as someone who did play a lot of Commander and would sit with like these certain decks where like I'm going to try and combo off or build like this big board, and I'll spend like 5 or 10 minutes. I'm like, you guys got responses? If not, I'm about to kick your asses real quick and set up a board where you cannot comply with it. Like it's going to suck. And
see, I find Commander though that it's a negotiation game, and that's where I find it's more of a social experience than playing like Standard, where you're just trying to make your synergies pop off. With Commander, because you're limited on how many cards you have, you're only getting one of any type of card in your deck. Up to 100 card deck is what you're building. Everyone's got craziness. Everyone that's going to be playing has something on the board no one wants to see, and that's where I think it's kind of interesting, because you generally play with more than one person. Playing with like a pot of 4 people, 4 to 3 I think is the minimum that they ask for. It gets to the point where someone drops like a big creature, and it's everyone at the table starts to have that discussion. Is that the problem? And I think that's what makes kind of EDH so much fun, is that everyone knows they're going to be doing something stupid and squirrely, but it's really just like, how well do you negotiate and who's the true like backstabber or winner at the end of this, right? And I like that kind of experience with card games, because it's fun. Sure, people can get bitter and salty, but that's any card game. But I find that you get less of that bitterness than going into like a tournament where you're facing the
100%.
Mono red card or something else to their deck, you know?
Yeah, no.
I just felt called out because I built an Eldrazi Commander deck, and I just
you're a meta player, I see. No.
No. I unironically, I actually built an Eldrazi deck because back when Commander Masters came out, there was specifically an Eldrazi Commander deck that came out, and the Commander by itself basically allowed you to play with the big dumb dorks and have fun with it. But some people just don't like seeing a Blightsteel Colossus come down, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to win the game.
Eldrazi, you play that deck and you are painting a target on your back. Everyone will try to kill you. No one wants to be your friend. You're not negotiating with people. You are the threat, no matter how little you've done on the board.
It's either that or slivers. Take your pick.
Yeah. There's definitely some ones that in the community, when someone starts playing it, everyone gets upset. Or as later as we were talking about tiers for commander decks, there are some commanders, and when people mention that, people just won't play because it's too salty of a deck. Like it's not fun for everyone. Yeah, like Trax is like flashback when you're like, oh yeah, I'll just let it slide, and then you're like, oh, everyone's dead at the table. Okay, that was bad.
Some comments about your topic real quick that you guys are mentioning. Unless you can blight steal all 4 people real fast, you got to play with the right group. Then it just kills one player, which is just man. So you end up one man out, twiddling their thumbs.
Yeah, it does suck, but that's kind of how it goes at times. Where like, at least in terms of multiplayer, because Magic is kind of like the best multiplayer game right now because of Commander. You kind of like when you're the first one to go, you're like, damn, that sucks. But then you're like, oh well, I'll just shuffle up and play a different deck for the next round. Whatever.
I think that's why they released that tier listing. Is the tier listing gave a really good breakdown of like, hey, this is the expectation of what decks you should be facing using this tier. So for an example, if you're playing decks that are going to have like Atraxia or like the Blightsteel, you're agreed you're playing at a higher tier deck, so everyone's playing a high tier version of that deck, which generally means that games are a little bit faster, or if it is a stalemate, everyone is sitting at such a high power creep that you get to see those crazy moments in those games. And I think that's the nicer portion, because yes, if you are playing a higher tier deck, everyone gangs up on you, sure, you're a higher tier deck, but if 3 people turn on you, there's no way you're dealing with all of that action economy against yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Action economy. Sorry, I thought I cut you off.
Pulling some D&D terms here.
Yes.
No, it's valid, because like this is the scariest part about Magic, is the fact that unlike the rest of the TCGs that actually have like constructed competitive games that you can kind of like place yourself around, Magic has placed itself as like the premier casual format, where when you sit down and play, you kind of have to talk out what's happening, because otherwise you could get like
wait. Talk out like Yu-Gi-Oh style, or like, I played Swords of Revealing Life, which lets me blah blah blah, or is that what you're talking about? Or
it's
yeah.
So that's
lying.
No.
Time Wizard makes the fucking dragon old, and now you got Elder Dragon. Fuck off.
Like to give you an idea, in some of the standard plays that I've gone into, like later decks, not right now, I don't know if this is still standing, but I've been able to build decks that'll summon like 200 tokens by the playing of 3 cards. But if you're playing with an actual individual person, physically to just do this and be like, oh, I have 200 tokens, they're attacking you, you're going to be like, what do you mean you have 200 tokens? So that's where the term the stack comes into play. Anytime something goes in, you announce what it is that you're playing. The player that is being affected by it is allowed to read the card, understand what's going on.
Oh yeah, that
and
makes
have a chance
sense.
to react to that. So that's kind of what it is, because there is so many interesting things. Like I played this card, and you might read it and be like, oh, that card doesn't seem bad, but then I have 4 things on the board. They're going to make this thing do 7 different things. So it's a lot of the understanding, getting into that, and because there's such a wide variety of cards, having this definition of how you're supposed to analyze cards, how cards are laid out, and how you can interact with them, just helps you break it down and digest it a little bit better, because it is a lot. There's a lot of if, ands, or buts that come up with Magic when you're playing.
I like that, because when I was in the sample event, some of the people I played, they just played the card, and I'm like, the fuck's that supposed to... What does that mean, man? Like, what the fuck?
Well, I know with One Piece, at least for the locals and tournaments that I've been to, you can take the time to read the card, because obviously you're not gonna learn every fucking card a part of the game. That's kind of nuts, you know. And also sometimes I just don't believe my opponent. I feel like they lie, like Yugi.
They lie.
They dropping a Dark Magician without a tribute, you fucking
You
scumbag.
can't tell me that Gecko Moria is going to come in and summon 5 things.
There's a question that was... Yes, let's get to the question. I pinned it just in case, so I didn't forget. But it's also something we were going to talk about, and I know Boros has very, very strong opinions on this. So,
Oh, okay.
No,
It's a solid question, though.
does anyone think that the TCG, I guess any TCG, is being ruined or ruled by scalpers?
I think
Discuss.
Oh no!
Oh, discuss.
Oh no!
All right, well, okay. Well, let's start with like let's go with Raven. than Silly Mirror because I know Boros has very strong opinions, so we could go Boros.
I think all
I will shut my
TCGs
mouth.
are I think both apply to all TCGs
Mhm.
because first and foremost, prices are not, I wouldn't say fully dictated, but scalpers do play a major role in the pricing of both singles and obviously booster boxes and availability and all of that stuff. The fact is that there's not enough for fucking players, people who actually genuinely want to play or fucking collect these games, because scalpers be waiting at Walmart at fucking 8 a.m. so they get in at 9 and steal all the goddamn fucking cards.
Or Costco and destroy all the fucking stacks and those card machines now that are a thing, which I don't understand how that works. But
and that attitude, these things that scalpers do, players are now also doing because they also want to get their hands on the cards. It's just that self-serving cycle bullshit where it's like, or like it's just like monkey see monkey do, you know. If the scalpers are doing it, the only way for normal players to be able to get cards at a reasonable price is to do exactly what scalpers are also fucking doing, which just sets a bad precedent. Ruined, I wouldn't say ruined totally, but it does once again make things more difficult for regular players to enjoy the card,
or collectors.
Or collectors, you know, or just any way you want to enjoy your TCG, whether it is battling, whether it is collecting, or both. It makes it more difficult for people who genuinely appreciate and love these IPs and genuinely love the game to actually be able to enjoy the game. Like we talked at the start, where like I'm spending an upwards of $14 to $20, $30 for a booster pack when that should have been $5-6, you know. That's crazy. It's gone to the point where, Joe, you can attest to this. You haven't seen me buy cards in the last month because shit's too fucking expensive.
and it's like it's also some of the like brick and mortar stores. Like I told you about, I'm not gonna name names, but like the one mall I work in, when that whole prismatic situation was happening at Costco, this man doubled the price of the fucking box. When I forgot, one of my friends went to the shop. He's like, yeah, like we got one. Like I'd like to take it. And he was gonna he's willing to pay the regular price for the box, but was like, oh no, he's like, you know how much this is going for right now? And so this is a mom and pop shop that now raised the price because they see the value and they're like, I can get more for these guys, and now you're out.
Exactly.
You can't play.
Angry Octopus makes the same observation. Local stores at scalper prices.
Yes.
It's the same thing I said. Monkey see, monkey do. If scalpers are doing it, they're setting a precedent for everyone else to do the same things, whether that is pricing, whether that is acquiring cards. Whatever they're doing, they're dictating how we interact with the game at this point, which is fucked
right.
up.
And look at so like when I get it from their mindset. They're like, I'm gonna sell this to that guy. What's to stop him from doubling the price? I might as well double the price first, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm going, guys.
No, you're. I was gonna say the other issue is the fact that there's also a lot of shops that want to sell like a good price to like the regulars, but they can't because sometimes they get screwed by distributors, which is kind of the case a lot of the times, where they may end up paying the price of like close to what the scalpers are charging, and they have to, you know, charge more than what they want to do with, just because in order for them to keep stuff on the shelves and keep the lights on and everything else, they have to charge more if they're getting less overall. Like it sucks on every end right now. It really doesn't
and
help
like
things.
not even just that too, like in the same vein that you mentioned where shops want to cater to their locals versus scalpers, they now have to operate different from norm in order to make sure scalpers can't.
Isn't it like you have to open that shit now in store or something?
Well, so I know the shop that I go to often, no names, blah blah blah. I like them; they're great, they're fantastic. They no longer post sealed product on the website. They don't even bother anymore. Yeah, because if they post on the website, scalpers will just purchase it and then either get it sent over or picked up in store, blah blah blah, but it'll just be less for the local players who actually go to the store to enjoy the game. So now you actually have to walk into the store, and like obviously it's a small way to try, air quotation, to prevent fucking scalpers, but it's, once again, the industry is changing and the way we interact and acquire our cards is changing because of how scalpers have fucked everything up.
I think with scalpers too, the hard part with it is these market is now changed. Like when TCGs come out, the original concept is a collectible card game. You play with people with a dedicated rule set. I think the problem now is that people have looked at these as now a new means of income. They look at this as a means to make money, and I find once that happens, we've seen this in
Beanie Babies.
this into the realism, just not even Beanie Babies. Like for example, housing market.
Beanie Babies.
As a means where people don't see them as what they were intended as, which is a medium for us to enjoy, play, have fun. And when you get into this greedy aspect where people are like, yeah, but if I can buy a box for 100 and sell for 400, I mean, that's easy profit. We can all agree exchanging 100 for 400, that's a much better trade out than anything else. The problem is that it puts this scarcity onto this, and then you start adding in interesting mixes where you have people that are streamers that just have their own online stores and they open packages for people. So like your strain on this market now has changed. You're not just opening up packs for the players. You have a much wider market of people that aren't using them for their intended setup, which limits the card options, which brings up the pricing, which then sets this precedence, as you brought up, the Raven, where even stores are being infected by this because card shops and everything else, they make money with you returning, because it's not like you sit in there and you're paying a subscription fee for every hour you're in that facility. Every time you make a purchase, that's where that store makes its money. And as we know, this stuff is getting more expensive, so it's harder for us to reasonably invest in this because it's not something I need, it's something I want, right?
I find my biggest issue is always that when it comes to TCGs, obviously you have to spend money in order to get the cards that you want, but exclusivity should only come from your RNG. That's it.
Yeah.
Your ability to, or not your ability, but your chance of pulling something cool. Exclusivity shouldn't come from obviously the price of entry at this point. That's an issue. Like I shouldn't be spending an arm and a leg just to be able to play something a part of an IP that I genuinely love. Like, and I only got into One Piece fucking like a few months back, but I love the IP so fucking much now. But also there's a hesitation to continue like being a part of this world because it's too expensive, it's impossible to get cards. There's a plethora of reasons for me to not play, which shouldn't be the case. Like there should be only one reason why, and that's because I've stopped showering. But
wow.
past that, like
Did you start playing
Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yu-Gi-Oh? Yeah,
No, he's on Yu-Gi-Oh. He's on that Yu-Gi-Oh now. I will say, like, from a collector's standpoint, like I when I got back into, I'm sort of back into Pokemon. They just released, I forget what the set was, but that came after. But I was collecting the previous set because in my mind I'm like, okay, well everybody's probably doing all the new shit, so it's probably easier to get the old shit. Wrong. like
So wrong in your way.
Yeah.
yo, my god, I gave up. I fucking gave up. I was like, what the fuck is this? Same store, no name, in the mall I work in. I was looking at his card prices and I'm just like, what the fuck is this, man? Like, I just want to finish the set, like, for fun. I'm not trying to make this an investment. Like, it's ridiculous. Even the old school cards, like, I'm even taking shit that's damaged. I don't give a fuck. I just wanted to finish the set. See,
Oh, someone got a graded card. Look at
look at that motherfucking guy. So, like, that's where I'm that.
I got it for free from one of my vendor friends.
Nice.
But like also, yeah, grading cards kind of batshit fucking crazy.
That
It shouldn't
blows
take
my
me
fucking
It shouldn't take somebody like 3-4 months to send out a card, get it fucking back, and still have to pay like an extra fucking $200 because your card
Do you
was
see
worth
what they
fucking,
do,
like,
though?
PSA though, because PSA is the
Yeah.
one upcharging. If you go with like CGC, you just pay the flat fee up front and that's it.
It's true, and like it
or
all depends on
GameStop. No, don't do
preference,
GameStop. Don't do
but once again, it's still like an
Curtis.
issue of like pricing is like super fucking expensive for just doing anything in the space. You know what I mean? Like you're spending money based on the perceived value of the potential card and all of that shit. Like that's fucking nuts. Like.
Yeah.
It's the like I said, it's the Beanie Baby thing when they put them. Remember they used to put them in the little glass cage things, and they were like,
Yep.
"This is my retirement money right here," and this Princess Diana bear with the little flower, and I'm like,
The problem though is that Pokemon got that ball rolling once that Charizard sold for so high, and then once that collector thing started blowing up, then we heard like the first Superman comic blowing up in price. So now a lot of these people we have kind of not curated, but let's be honest, the people our age are having kids, and those kids are the ones that are getting into this. We kind of push them into this thing because we're excited to express this with them. They start falling into this, and now these older things that we've carried on because we've continued this want behind them, the value of these older things get up even more and more as the community grows and collectors want these pieces, right? Hence like the PSA stuff like that was unheard of. Could you imagine? Like I remember, and it still haunts me, of using Charizards as part of my bike spokes to make that vroom sound, so I sound like a yeah, like legit. I'm a Bulbasaur player, so Charmanders to me were just garbage. Yeah,
Bro.
and now I'm looking at like, you know how many Charizards I've lost? How much money I could have made if I just put them away? Like,
So speaking from my own personal experience here, last year I decided to get back to the Pokemon TCG, and I was collecting the shiny cards because I'm a shiny hunter in the main games, right? And I really like these, and so I started opening up Paldean Fates, the recent shiny set, and the chase of the set is actually the Bubble Mew. It initially was the Charizard, but the Bubble Mew is now the big chase card. And when I pulled it was worth about $80-$90 at the time. I'm like, oh cool, I really got this. And then I started to see the price of it go from $90, $180, $270, $360, $400 plus. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? And I literally sent that off to get graded because I didn't trust myself to keep it in a binder where it might potentially get damaged and with some random thing happening. Shit came back at 10 at PSA, thank God. But the fact of the matter is that there is a massive precedence in every TCG that collectors and people that want to go after these, they're going to go nuts, especially if they're graded cards, because it's a card that they want. They don't give a shit about anything else. They're going to drop money, like actual stacks on these. And it's kind of scary, but it's kind of what's become of any TCG at this point, unfortunately.
But I think it was Pokemon though that started the PSA stuff. No, like that was the original. Like,
kind of yes, but also it's just the fact that I wouldn't even say it was Pokemon. I would say it was one YouTuber in particular who really pushed it over the edge because
we don't talk about him on this channel.
we don't. But it was the fact that one person really shot it up into the stratosphere that we're like, oh, the things that we were enjoying are now going to be unobtainium because the average person can afford like 20% of the nicer cards out.
I will say though, like of all the high end fans that throw their money around, I kind of respect Post Malone for that purchasing the One Ring because that was the it was the
ring.
One ring,
$1 million.
So like I respect it.
Pulling that pack,
bro.
1.6 million for a piece of cardboard printed in someone's basement. Like,
that cardboard crack, baby.
The respect the Post to do it was better than any other company because all the other companies were like, we'll give you $1 million, we'll give you 1.5, and Posty's like 2.6. I got you, fam. And I would rather give it in the hands of Post than any of these big companies that are going to like capitalize and put it in a vault in like 20 years from now. We're now selling the one of one ring. It's like eat a dick.
Yeah, eat a dick. I do want to get into one more quick topic or like a subtopic real quick. For your respective TCGs, if I was a new player, is it easy to get into your game, and what should I do to get into your game? Because with some cases, maybe you want to invest into booster boxes in order to build a deck. Maybe it's worth it just to go with a starter deck, or maybe you should just not and move on to something else. Cough, cough, Yu-Gi-Oh. Yo, Nick gonna kill me.
That's fine. All the players deserve it.
Like, feel free to like think about it for a second. I could start off by saying, I think there are a lot of very relevant starter decks when it comes to the One Piece TCG. Yes, like just like anything else, you may need to make some changes, but if you are looking to get into One Piece, look at the starter decks. A lot of the starter decks are relevant, or at least keep you up to date with what's going on and allow you to, I guess, be somewhat competitive. Like, bang bang. What about you guys?
I mean,
feel free to pull.
I'll talk about the Gundam one because we did the sample event once. So people had to explain it to me in Magic terms because a lot of the wording, again, it's specific to the game. but there's equivalent in other games. So once that terminology was set, I was able to understand it really quick, and I was technically in a tournament of 8 people, came in 7th, as long as I wasn't last. Just putting that out there.
Yo, dude, that's not last.
Yeah,
That's all that matters. But and it was pretty easy to pick up. I think I messaged you, Boros, too. I'm like, how hard is this to learn? And you're like, you can look it up online, but like playing it, like it was actually not bad. It was not bad. Exactly, we take it, baby.
For Gundam 2, like especially because it's coming out, like right now would be the best time to get into it because card prices haven't skyrocketed as of yet, besides beta deck, obviously. But like, yeah, if you're able to get your hands on a deck, it would be probably for retail. It would be a clean start because you're getting cards as they come out and you're learning the meta because the meta's still being discovered. I think for Gundam, it makes sense to just pick up a starter deck and just go right now. Because also those are going to be the few available cards when they do come out, right? What about you fucking nerds?
I think Magic is
sorry, 1 second. Sorry,
Yeah.
1 second. I just want to say, Viking GG, welcome on in. This is our podcast that we do every month. Thank you for the follow. Grab yourself a cup of joe, kick up your feet. You're in your mama's house now. But we usually also do Gunpla and play video games on the channel. But this is our monthly podcast with my friend Raven Squall, who we take different guests and we talk about different topics. Today we're talking about TCGs just for context. Please continue, Blair.
I think Magic is a bit hard to get into depending on what form you're going in. Like if you're doing draft, you don't need anything other than maybe some knowledge of the game because you're going to be handed packs and build a deck from there. And your deck is viable because everyone's doing the same thing. Commander, they did a better job of releasing pre-con, so constructed decks, so you can just pick up and start playing with people that are viable with most meta groups. So if you sit down with a bunch of people with those decks, you're probably going to have a good time. But if you start playing with people that are tailoring and building decks, you're going to get stomped on. And I think that's the harder part if you're trying to get into standard, is that if you're really trying to go to a tournament and you really want to play competitive matches, you're running into the problem you ran into with One Piece where, you know, most cards to be competitive are running at Sanji prices. So, you know what I mean? Like, I think just now pulling up the website, if I wanted to build a competitive deck from scratch, I think it's sitting about 356 American. So like that's expensive for just being like, hey, I want to go to a tournament and I might win, right?
You might win. Yeah, it's not even a guarantee. It's just if you want to be able to keep up with meta, that's what you'll probably want to look at doing, right?
So what you're saying is it's easy to get into, but if you want to get the most out of it, it's gonna cost you.
Yeah, like I would look at it objectively. If you're coming in, if there's a set you like, start playing from there. Go to tournaments, pick up cards, play with friends, and start from that segment and see what you like about that and explore from that moment. Just because you can minimize some of the expenses as you're starting. And I would even say too, look at the different formats, see what stands out for you. Play with friends if you have groups that like playing certain setups. Start there because it is a large segment. I mean, the game has been going on for 20 plus years. They've developed so many different card styles to play, and I think that's what makes it a little more daunting, especially when you start looking at these cards that have walls of text. And you have to start to figure out how that works with your deck and synergizes. Whereas I think a lot of other games have very clear, like the playmats you guys have for, like I've seen for the One Piece, Digimon, even Yu-Gi-Oh, they're very easy to understand. This goes here, these don't interact, this interacts with this. Magic, those rules can change on its head by a single card.
All the text, yes.
Well, that's fair. I think that's some like really solid advice, and I personally was most interested in hearing the advice when it comes to Magic, especially with like how long it's existed. And as an ex-Pokemon player, like I understand kind of that meta, but like with Magic, there's so much fucking going on. Like,
I like it though. That complexity behind it is interesting because you can really get into some interesting interactions with an opponent or even your deck. And again, it's just trying to play with your resources and odds, right? And I like that strategy.
Oh, I like that. All
What
right,
about you, Boros?
Yeah, bring us home with Pokemon. What do you suggest for a new player, someone brand new who really
Besides have lots and lots of money.
So
unless that's the only option, then like
Yeah, I mean, if that's their advice.
well, okay, at least playing wise, right? there's only like one real format that everyone plays, which is standard. There is expanded, but they haven't really touched upon it in a minute because it's just so confusing to play through. But it's basically black, white, X and Y, Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, and Scarlet, about 5 different generations with different mechanics in each of them, because that's so many different sets. So standard is like the easiest one for everyone to get their hands on and effectively play the game, especially if you're only playing with like Scarlet and Violet base set to current, which you can still find all those sets in the wild, hopefully, right? The big thing is that you are better off picking up your singles and building decks because of how cheap it is to pick up. Because the likelihood of you being able to, like, say, like, open a booster box and get everything you need out of that is non-existent at this point.
That's fair.
Especially for like the prices. For the prices that you have to pay
you
for.
very much shouldn't rely on being able to do that.
Yeah, like in the past, you could be able to get away with it because of like bulk. Like, to put this into context here, I'm gonna make you guys like heads kind of implode. When I played during X and Y, like, you know, probably like almost like a decade ago, right? Bulk back then, you could take like a 5-row bowl of bulk full of commons, uncommons, rares, you know, your hits, stuff like that, and get like $300-400 for a 5-row box because bulk was that high. Nowadays, if you take your bulk, you can hopefully get like
$20,
maybe $20-30. Yeah,
I got that GameStop trading credit, baby.
That's it. That's it.
So nowadays, it's just significantly easier just to pick up your singles and ask around. Because there's a lot of people out there that might have like open sets and they might have like a bunch of like spare stuff. Because some sets, it's more worthwhile just to buy your singles. Other times you're just like, you know what, I can, you know, afford to spend the $40-50 on buying like an ETB of this set and get some cool cards I can use for building my decks. And if I get lucky getting one of the like the top cards, hooray, it's awesome. But I suggest that. And the other big thing is also finding a locals that actually runs tournaments.
That's a big one. That's a bad.
Yeah, a lot of places typically they will buy, sell, and collect cards, but playing is a different story. And if they are playing, you're in for a really nice treat because of the prize packs. Because Raven, you and I both understand what it means to go to a tournament and get like a tournament pack, right? But for you, in One Piece, you're playing for a tournament pack with like one promo card in it, and then also a winner card as a replacement. In Pokemon, a tournament pack is like 5 or 6 cards with 2 guaranteed holos in it. And they could be like, and they can range entirely from the entire set, but they're all like playable cards for the most part. You can actually like get out of it and like use to like build more decks and everything else. Because it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg to build up your decks. Like, for how much you dropped on your purple Luffy deck, or it's basically the, you know, his Emperor version, right, being purple black. I could very easily build like 5 or 6 different Pokemon decks very easily and not have any issues with that. But you're also at the mercy of individual sellers online at that point too.
Yeah, that's the tough thing. Like, at least to build a relevant deck, you know, you don't have to drop an arm and a leg. But once again, like you said, availability will be kind of an issue depending on, you know, where you are, who you're looking to purchase from, or if you are just looking to purchase online. For me personally, I do a lot of my like card purchases online, but at local shops, so I could just go and pick them up, kind of deal. But I'll never order online and get it sent to me, just because I also think
I do,
because I'm lazy. Just a waste.
I'll do it.
Well, okay, wait. What if they're in like Quebec though? I ain't going to Quebec, you know. So my guy was in Quebec.
Well,
so...
well, I guess for me, because One Piece once again is still in its infancy as a TCG. Cards are constantly coming up. Like, all I have to do is wait, and one of the 2 shops that I frequent often will eventually get the card that I want in, and that'll just be based on if I actually want to purchase it or not, right? But
fair.
For me, like, I'm not worried about purchasing online from Quebec when I can just purchase at one of my locals at some point in the near future.
For context, it's a chain of stores, and their main warehouse that has all the cards is in Quebec, so they would have to ship it to their store in Toronto, at which point I pick it up, that kind of thing. That being said, though, guys, we are reaching the end of our 2-hour mark, so we'll go for some closing statements. You guys have anything you want to share? Some advice to the viewers out there? Don't pick up that card that Anton hates because it's banned.
Don't play.
I don't know.
Don't play red. Don't play mono red. Be smarter.
I could
There's better things out there.
because my name is literally Boris, which is red and white. Thanks, I appreciate that.
At least you tried by putting another color in there. You know.
Oh
like,
my god.
You're not.
I've always, listen. I played standard when Lightning Bolt was still legal, my guy.
Lightning
alright?
bolt. Lightning bolt.
All right, let's reel it back in. We'll Boros, give us a lasting comment.
If you love card games, you shouldn't care about what's happening. You should just care about playing the game because you love it.
That's
Damn,
a solid.
that was
That's
actually,
good.
That was good. That
That
was
was very
fire.
good. All right, Blair, you got to follow that up. Other than what you said.
Yeah,
before.
that
you gotta
sucks 'cause
follow it
that's
up.
what I
We
was
will be
gonna
judging
go
you based on what you say.
You know, it's
this
really
will
just
determine
about
whether
the
you come back as a
journey.
guest or not.
I don't know. Like, I agree with you, Boros. I think at the end of the day, when it comes to playing these games, there's a lot of this culture that kind of gates you out when you're not playing at a competitive level and you're not doing things at this level that they want you at. But let's be honest, all the nerdage and all the things that we do, the reason why we do it is we either love the art, we love the IP it comes from, and a lot of that is what draws us to these things. And if you ever find yourself in those scenarios where you're going to tournaments or game shops or playing with groups of people that are being toxic or not working with you, hey man, there's a lot of other people out there that are willing to play. Like, move on. Don't let that hold you back. These games are fun to play. There's reasons why they're so successful in doing what they do. It just sucks during the motions of it, you know?
That's
I guess-
solid. I like that.
Mine is like, if you guys are worried about the cost of cards, like one thing you could do, buy singles if you want specific cards. But the other thing, there's other options. It's not for every game, but some of them have virtual representations of themselves. Pokemon Pocket TCG. If you want to get into that, Magic the Arena. If you want to get into that, like, so
that's
there's
solid advice too.
right. You can get the experience of the card game without having to buy the cards. If that's one way. Me, I personally like the physicality of a card, which is why I still prefer it IRL. But just saying, there's some options.
That's solid as fuck.
How about you, Raven? I don't think you've given anyone advice except for no Yu-Gi-Oh.
Well, honestly, my advice was actually just going to be a combination of all three of yours, so y'all kind of fuck me. like,
Well done,
Getting
boys.
invited.
my first point was there are free options to be able to do this. As a current One Piece player, there is the One Piece sim that was created by a fan and now is just worldwide used for like tournaments, for local play, whatever. It's free, you can get into it, and I'm sure there are plenty of options for any of the other TCGs that you may want to be a part of or are currently a part of. Two, let's not forget, this is for the fun of the IP. This is because you either love the cards, you love the art, you love the IP so much. Let's, as much as it sucks that scalpers are fucking everything up and prices are crazy, don't forget why you're getting into this, because you love the space. So, and then last but not least, I'll change it up. Make sure you go to a locals. Make sure you
that's
actually
good.
go
Yeah.
out, make some friends, touch some fucking grass. You know what I mean? And then go inside and play card games.
4 to 5 hours.
Are you insinuating
For
I don't
4 to
touch
5
grass on
hours.
regular?
But like I will say personally, I've met some really fucking cool people through the TCG space. It's just an opportunity for you to also meet like-minded folk and, you know, have a good time. Just remember, like, this is in the name of fun. Don't get too caught up on it. Just make sure you're having a good time while you do it.
That
I
being
also want to.
Oh, go for it, Boris. Go
I'll
for
add
it.
one more thing here. Don't
Proxies?
go into debt for doing all this.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
Yeah, like as much fun as this.
Go into debt, lose all your money,
No, it's like
and
you
send
could
it to
money steal this so fast.
Raven.squaw at.
Just
But as you were saying,
enjoy the game however you can and at what level you can enjoy it at. Just don't feel bad if you like. Just don't feel bad if you feel like you're excluded or left out. It's like, no, there's someone else, or rather those people over there that are playing at a much higher level probably have been in it for so long that they understand like all of, like the things that come with it, right? So they're trying to enjoy it at their level too.
Also remember, the high of the chase is also a part of the experience. You know what I mean? When you're when you're buying packs to try to pull that one specific card, yes, it's gambling kind of deal, but also like this is also a part of the experience. And then when you do eventually draw that card 4 years down the line and it's no longer relevant, damn, you're gonna feel real great about yourself. Also, yes, play Karibo.
Just don't be that streamer who dropped 30K on like Prismatic Evolutions only.
Nah, fuck that. They got too much money. Drop that money.
Yeah.
You're a streamer. You got that guap.
I don't.
Bring us home, buddy.
Okay, but yes. So this is where we're gonna end this podcast. Obviously, we'll keep in touch in the Discord for !Discord for the next topic and episode next month or later this month. It's kind of a weird how we did this one. But for those who want to be on the know on what the next topic is, we are bringing back the Pokemon episode because we lost the original. So we're going to redo it because there's a lot of Pokemon stuff to talk about game-wise. So was that new one that's coming out? Or not Arceus Legends. That's the one. Thank you. So that'll be the next one. And it's very topical. And then after that, we'll see. There's a bunch of topics. I don't think you guys can see that chat. I think only me and Anton can. But I have the topics written out for a few things going forward. So just FYI. We're not going to raid out. We're just going to end it here, though. But we do appreciate everybody who's come in. Our guests, Boros, Silly Mirror, appreciate you guys for taking the time out.
Appreciate y'all so much.
for
You
having
guys
us.
were fucking fantastic and brought up a lot of really fucking good points.
Exactly. And if you know what we'll end this off with? A classic Raven shout-out.
How dare you?
Also known as Raven. I'm a
You
variety
guys
streamer. I
stream?
do many different things.
Yeah, that shake weight. Remember the shake weight?
We should change that to a link to one of my viral videos. I could use the views.
There you go. But definitely show him some love. He is planning potentially to come back at some point. Don't know when.
This year,
Um,
at some point. I don't want to say within the next.
Moria!
That's it.
In and around my mouth.
Okay. Anyways, guys, have a fantastic rest of your day. We'll catch you on the next one. Take care.